Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Dota commentary brought to you guys by Beyond the Summit. I am Luminous, joined by Scantzor as we cast our second best of 3 series today. It's LGD Gaming, it's CDEC.Youth, and yeah, Scantzor, we had a short break. I know you're watching some of the Epicenter lands. No spoiling, please. I'd like to go back and watch those VODs. So no bringing it up,
you
please.
better not pay attention to my tweets in the meantime. Then just stay off Twitter until you watch all the VODs. So it's actually interesting to me. So you're one of the people that like doesn't want to know the results of a match when they watch a VOD.
Yeah, half the time I think sometimes I just cast the game myself and throw them on my YouTube because I find that I think about the game in a different way when I'm casting it versus watching it. So I don't like to know the results.
I think I agree with that. Like, if you're gonna cast it, then of course you don't want to know the results. But for me, like, if I'm not casting a game and I'm just watching a replay to analyze a team, I actually like deliberately check the result first because it helps me to like know what to look for in the game. You know, I'm trying to like understand the game from the perspective of how did this team end up winning from the beginning of the game, rather than, you know, I think I can focus what I'm actually trying to analyze.
Fair enough. Given the fact that we don't know who LGD or CDEC.Youth will win, we're gonna have to do it the old school way, kind of guess.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like we're gonna start with a Phoenix pick for LGD and CDEC picking up Lion as a support. So we just saw Bopuka kind of go ham, for the lack of a better word, on the line. We'll see if the CDEC squad could kind of replicate that kind of performance. 2 support being taken up so early.
So I think Phoenix has been huge in China recently, and I think it's actually September's main hero. So they'll be very comfortable playing with the hero. The one thing that's interesting is like Phoenix became big internationally around the Shanghai Major, but it was mostly the Sunray people were talking about. And in China, people do max Sunray first, but you just as often see big Phoenix plays where it's not about the Sunray, like where it's about the egg. Those are still happening, and it's still being picked as an off lane and not just as a support. It's either or. Very often what we see in China is the Phoenix is actually running an aggressive dual lane, usually with like a Doom or an Axe or something like that can move off to the jungle, and then the Phoenix gets solo XP at that point. But yeah, you were saying that CDC.Youth picked 2 supports at the start. We mentioned that in the previous series. Also quite interesting. And in this particular case, it's, you know, I would say with Avenger and Enchantress, having Avenger as a lane support means you need to have a strong laning core, whereas with the Iron Alliance, it's not really limiting in that sense. You can probably have whatever cores you want.
I say if you're gonna pick 2 supports from the start, these are probably 2 of the safer ones to go for. Maybe the Isle, it's a bit weak in lane, but I mean they're just so good at every stage of the game. But back to your Phoenix point, I do agree with that. The Sunray build is generally always good. Whereas if you want to capitalize on the egg, you probably have to draft around it. You have to pick your Axes, your Medusas. And in this case, Slaughter is not bad, right? If you just get in with a 2-man crush and then you just dive in with the egg, suddenly you're just ahead in a team fight. They have to either commit to killing the egg, which, you know, 2 of your guys are stunned, or they try to run where Slaughter is going to chase you down with Amp and whatnot. So I like the start with LGD's draft, but a lot could change from this point and on.
So have you been watching CDC.Youth? Because if you haven't, you might be like, why the hell did LGD just ban Nagasaran? But the most common factor for me when I watch CDC.Youth has been like, they always have aim on a super hard carry. It's usually Naga or Terrorblade or Morphling, or he plays these heroes that just get so much farm. And actually the other 2 cores, the safe lane and the off lane, switch around a lot. So I've seen Inflame playing like safe lane Bat, and then XZ will actually play the Furion or something like that. But sometimes it's just a regular offlane and Flame's playing a regular carry. But the clear thing is like the classic old EG style almost. Their mid player aim is always on a super hard carry, and that's why LGD banned the Nagasaran here, because it's probably the best hero for that role actually.
I heard the rumors of a Naga carry in the qualifier, so I believe it probably
would have been them. Yeah.
I do call him Ame. I don't know if that's
Ame.
Correct pronunciation, but I'm gonna just run with the one that I've been going with.
Sure. I mean, so, you probably have a slightly better understanding of Chinese than me, so maybe
this is literally not Chinese. I think Ame is actually a Japanese pronunciation.
Yeah, what I mean is like, you'd have a better understanding of like if we both take a wild guess of how a Chinese person would say that name, you might have a slightly better guess than
Sure,
me.
fair enough, fair enough.
So I'll go
Although
with Ame as well.
quite kind of English sounding names with Victoria and demons as they pick up Darkseer. So if you know it's Darkseer, is it going to be most likely XZ that's going to be playing it, right? In the offlane?
Yes. He's their Darkseer player. So it means Inflame will be playing a sort of standard one position safe lane hero. But I still think that we'll see Ame being the player who's prioritized in terms of farm, almost certainly, just because that's the style that they always go for.
So when it comes to the team fight that LGD most likely will bring to you, is there any two cores that you're looking to pick up that's a little bit more resistant to the eggs initiation in conjunction with Slaughter?
Well, I mean, considering the fact that you have 3 heroes already and none of them are at all good at destroying the egg, CDC.Youth will have to actually, the hero that I saw them picking against Phoenix most was Morphling, because Morphling you can go into Agi and you can actually solo kill the egg in those fights.
Well, in the mid to late game, early game not so much.
Yeah, not early game, but I mean he's also got an IO here, so maybe with the overload that would, I don't know. There's something to be said for that, but certainly they need to consider it. I think it's very important that they have at least one, ideally both of the heroes that are capable of attacking quite quickly. Because Phoenix is, this is the reason I was bringing it up at the start. It's a hero that justifies itself as a pick just for like the Sunray. And then if you happen to be picked into a position where the enemy team can't deal with your egg, all of a sudden this is like the best hero in the game. It's like the value is way too high of what you get out of the hero when that happens. So I definitely think CDC.Youth should have some kind of plan. Okay, so Slark is the start of a plan. Like he's still a melee hero, needs to come in close, and that like increases the risk if he ends up not killing the egg. But at the same time, he is a hero that builds up that attack speed and can take it down.
I do like Slark against Phoenix. Like you said, the Dark Pack could get rid of this Fire Spirit, so you could kind of just go and attack. That would be great. Although Slaughter to me is actually a fairly decent counter to Slark in a sense, at least from the qualifier games I watch, like, you know, Shadow Blade Slark, or even in his ultimate, Slaughter still has a way to deal with it, with this crush. So, yes, he could kind of get rid of Slaughter's debuff. Slaughter still has control over Slark. So it's kind of, like, for me, it's a trade-off. And I don't think you want that kind of matchup when you have to deal with the Phoenix. And now there's another big AoE on top of that, with the call down. So, I find
that's
it
super scary, actually, because this is why I said, like, if you have a range carry that can kill the egg, then you don't need to worry about like dealing with getting stomped or cooldowned or something as much. Whereas when it's a Slark, even if he's ulting, as you say, like he has to be in the middle of all the stuff.
I was thinking something a little bit more YOLO with like an Ursa safe lane or something. Just like you could overcharge and essentially kill the egg very quickly. You're fairly decent against Slaughter because, I mean, when Slaughter sprinted, if he's ever stunned, he's dead. But, you know, it could be a kind of a comfort thing, and they're going to run with a Slark.
I'm curious to see if they'll pick a Juggernaut. I'm not sure what kind of like, because then either your Jugger or your Slark have to be mid, and certainly in Southeast Asia, those are the things that we've seen teams like TNC doing, MVP. But Juggernaut's really good, I think, against both Gyrocopter and Phoenix. Again, you got a way to take off the spurts, and Omni Slash works really nicely against Gyrocopter.
Sure.
So it's even a nice combo with Darkseer. I mean, so is Slark. They both are. They both get a lot of value with Iron Shell.
I'm just hoping that we're gonna see a Shadow Fiend because I haven't seen that hero for a long time. But
it's actually yesterday in Epicenter, SF came up once or twice. It was Quakefer playing it, I think.
Okay.
No Diggity picked it twice, but only them. Like it's not like it's a trend that every team is picking it. And that's interesting. So Queen of Pain last pick, yeah. So this is what I was talking about. It's actually Inflame who picks up the Queen of Pain, even though he's like, in the typical sense, the one position player. He's really not. AM is the main farmer. And I just want to see if they put the Queen of Pain safely in the Slark mid as a result. Because I think against an Invoker, you probably still want to just put your Queen of Pain mid. Like, I've seen Slarks do fine in mid, but it's not a... I feel like it's a matchup where Slark's going to get quite shut down in terms of his farm.
Yeah, it's
unless
not the,
maybe they run the IO with it mid.
It's definitely not the ideal matchup in a strict 1v1 position, but yeah, you're right. When the supports come rotate, maybe it'll get a little bit better. Yesterday, I do believe or was it the day before that, Aggressive did play the safe lane queen, and, you know, kind of just ran around and just did very gyrocopter-esque things where you just TP into a fight and just get a couple kills and go back to farming. So it could be that kind of queen, but it will surprise me if he doesn't head mid and buy mid items.
Well, I mean, yeah. Look, all I'm saying is that almost always we see Ame in the mid lane, even though he's the carry. So my default expectation would be that they're going to run Slark and Io as a dual lane mid, and Queen of Pain Lion in the safe lane. And I mean, the more I think about it, Slark and Io will probably kill Invoker, like diving him under his tower, like, and I don't know, Venge is not the best hero to roam in and save mid. Phoenix, I suppose, a little bit better at that.
Oh, Phoenix is excellent actually at kind of saving, mostly via TP. You could like just, you know, when they're committing on your core, you could dive or just Sunray straight up, and the heal sometimes could turn a gank around depending if the enemy team is bringing enough burst for you. So have to wait and see. Both supports porting in mid, they'll drop wards and see each other dropping it. I think the Dire saw the Radiant. Radiant maybe not have saw the Dire. But that is an advantage here coming out from CDEC.
So let's see. Yeah, Slark will be in the safe lane for a change. Inflame will be taking up that mid lane, and that's actually quite a big story because Inflame, he had a brief run, couple of months with LGD last year, or maybe even the year before. It's been a long time now. He also had a couple months with eHome before he got replaced by CTY, who later on moved on as well. And Inflame's been a player who's been in the Chinese scene as like, a lot of people think he's like the up and coming god tier dominant mid player or god tier dominant safe lane player. And he's been in that position of stasis for nearly 2 years now, where we haven't actually seen the breakouts where suddenly everyone's talking about Inflame and nothing else. But I think in this team recently he's had some of those performances, and so I'm super excited actually to see him take this mid lane against Maybe, who most people think already achieved that kind of status. People already think of Maybe as that god tier mid player.
The funny thing is that I think CTY also had a stage where it was kind of like that for him.
Yeah, he did. And
you can make the argument whether he's, I don't know, like the recent CTY hasn't looked, you know, fairly strong, but
yeah, but CTY is now in like a team that's just problems, right? The Vici Gaming team is like very, very weird. But when he was in eHome last year, he was like talk of the town, absolutely fantastic.
Well, let's focus on the match at hand now. I want to focus on the mid matchup because you talked about maybe is probably one of the best mid players at the moment in China. Inflame kind of making a challenge. It's not going to be a strict 1v1. Victoria in the lane here, giving a couple of harass, securing those last hits and whatnot, but critical deny here for Invoker getting the range creep early.
Yeah, so Queen of Pain could actually dominate this lane with the early help from the IO, I think, even if the IO leaves afterwards. And the great thing here for CDEC.Youth is that I think they don't need the IO top. I think Slark and Lion's going to be perfectly fine against Slaughter. The Slaughter's going to get some XP, but he's going to get very little farm. And there'll come a time where they can threaten to kill him.
Yeah, probably level 2 or level 3, that's when it starts. Depending if Lion wants to play a little bit passively, he could start just getting mana drain and pressuring the Slaughter that way. Or he could just get Hex and threaten for a kill. But for now, you know, Xiaolei's going to be able to soak a lot of the XP. He's been playing off lane for like, I don't know how many years. He knows how this works.
He stopped off a few times in between. He played mid a bit, he played supports a bit, but off lane's like his most played role, honestly. And more than off lane, initiators. That's like always been Xiaolei's thing. He's good at playing initiators. So Slaughter, I think, fits that role. Even though, you know, historically we thought of Slaughter as a carry. These days, people almost always think of Slaughter as the initiator, whether it's safe lane, off lane, mid, whatever.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And when you're leading a team that's gonna follow you up with a call down as well as a Phoenix egg, you know, those initiation better count, and it probably will count. Very much so. Making a dive here. Looks like maybe he's gonna survive. Drops a Sunstrike and not gonna kill. Force Spirit following it up, missing up the hill.
He maybe almost. I don't know if I want to say deliberate, but he almost baited that in. Like he had a magic stick with a few charges and a fairy fire, and it looked like he was about to die twice in a row, and they went deeper and deeper. So if he'd gotten a kill, I almost want to say that it was deliberate, and lucky him, he finds a regen rune now as well, so it doesn't have to go back to base.
That's a pretty big game changer for him. Sunstrike up top to get the Satyr. Gonna miss. Oh, maybe. Looking around the map.
So these guys, I was saying in the previous match when we were watching Newbie Young that SC is like the top MMR in China or something. But interestingly related to that, pretty much all of the LGD players have had like a huge boost in their MMR recently. I've been following that, and like Xiao 8, you'd be surprised to hear maybe is 8k. Aggressive is as well. I think maybe he's pretty close. MMY is like the lowest MMR in his team, and he's like 6.5 or something. It's kind of a funny thing because in my mind, MMY might be the most skillful player on this team. I don't know if you agree with that. Like when he has plays, he has huge plays.
Skilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in pub games, especially in the higher levels, leadership skill actually counts for quite a bit. So it doesn't surprise me. Like Xiaowei to me is not a very mechanically gifted player, but does not surprise me at all that he could reach high 8k. Sunstrike happening on the bottom lane. Sorry for missing that kill, but looks like
I guess he also has that reputation, right? So everyone would listen to him.
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, if there's one player from China you listen to, it's probably Xiaowei. Which, ironically, you know, he hasn't even won a TI yet.
Yep. And actually, I mean, if we're honest, there have been TIs where Xiao 8 has been a liability on his team. I mean, I know that the hype at the moment is Xiao 8 godlike captain, but his play has come into question many times in the past.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
There was an era where he was seen as by far the weak link on his team.
Wait, did I say that Xiao 8 hasn't won a TI yet? I think I misspoke. Because he has.
Yeah, he won a TI for newbie, yeah. But not for LGD.
Yeah, I actually casted that TI, the game that he won, but yeah.
Oh, you cast the finals?
Yeah, I did. The worst finals.
It's not that memorable, right? Those finals were like
that final
was
shorter than this game.
Yeah. But it is, the point I'm making, it's something to look out for Xiao 8's personal play, because, I mean, as you say, you can get to 8k MMR with whatever his level plays, so you can't be that bad, but it has been something he's been criticized for in the past, that despite being a great leader, sometimes he makes some mistakes in his own play. I haven't seen any of that recently watching LGD, I have to admit.
Oh, he's going to see a gank coming his way. He crushes and just runs to the right. Ame's going to be trying to look for the pounce. He has it on cooldown for 1 second. Try to do some next level pounce here. Not going to hit, but good try. If it hit, I'm not sure whether line would have got there in time. But good pressure. Just keeping Xiao on his toe. He's going to have to pop that south.
And I will be very surprised if this lock doesn't buy Midas. He's got the gloves. He could get the treads, but like I was saying, this is a player who he's always seems to be in that role of getting tons of farm, trying to have a huge gap in the net worth, being the most farmed in the game. It's just like the style that he goes for.
I do want to see how he plays Slark, because as of late I've seen a lot of Echo Sabers, which, if you think about it, it's another extra hit upon the egg. Mid lane looks like Inflame, a lot of trouble. Magic Missile, Sunstrike, as well as a Sunray. That Queen of Pain could not even move. But yeah, back to Ame. I wonder if he's going to go Midas into Echo Saber, or your standard, SMY kind of build, or Shadow Blade. I'm very curious.
I'm mostly curious to see if he doesn't go Midas at all, because if he were to go straight Blink or Shadow Blade or something like that,
yeah, he went Power Treads.
Yeah, and so it's possible that and to me this is like very much out of his elements. That's just not usually how he plays at all.
Well, I think it's probably the tempo of the game that's given to him, right? I don't think you could play greedy against Slaughter, Gyrocopter, these cores that could kind of bring the fight to you so early. Especially aggressive Gyrocopter, right? We haven't really touched on it. This is kind of his namesake hero. One of them, back at TI5, did a lot of work with those TP rotations and calldowns.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that Ame might actually perform worse if he's not playing that farming role, because he's gotten so he's so conditioned to playing it. And Inflame and XD are always the ones that are making the space while he just takes over the game farming. So it's gonna be very interesting to see. And as we talk about aggressive, he's already making this early rotation with the smoke. With
TP to the tier 2 mid tower, and then they're gonna smoke. They know he's here. The smoke breaks. They're gonna swing around, drops the ward just for a little bit of vision. Calldown's gonna come through, and he's gonna get that one extra neutral creep. So I think it's always a tale when you see Gyrocopter disappear off the safe lane. You know he's coming, especially if it's aggressive. Forces a jump to the left.
Yeah, and the fantastic thing about that is that it's the Darkseer they find, right? So you might think sometimes the drawback of leaving your safe lane is that the offlaner gets time, but the offlaner wasn't there. He was in the jungle. He's the one you went and killed. So there was no trade-off there at all. And actually, it was the Phoenix getting the free time in the safe lane.
It's like the ultimate like disrespect, you know, because they first you zone you away from the off lane, forcing you to jungle, and then they go into your home and be like, you're not even safe here, and then they kill you there. So LGD looking sharp. For me though, it's up to, you know, Xiaowei. When is the blink dagger timing? He's went for the Tranquil boots. In fact, he might want to force a TP or two from XZ. No. Looks like just a little bit of scare, and he's probably going to take up to the bottom lane after Phoenix gets a decent amount of levels and start getting some farm from there.
Yeah, I think we're in a weird situation where it's unusual to say this when there's a Darkseer involved, but the team not with the Darkseer, the other LGD here, once they have their levels and key items online, have a much stronger fighting lineup. I think, you know, once Slaughter has Blink, once Phoenix has got ulti online with the Jara ulti, it should. The CDEC.Youth have Darkseer, but what else do they have that's going to win them those fights? Is it going to be up to the Lion to hit those like Ravages again?
Yeah, to me it's more about Scan actually is going to find Slaughter. To me it's about like how much the first combo get for LGD. You know, if it's a 4-man crush into an egg, like it doesn't matter what CDEC has, they're probably going to lose the fight. However, if they only get 1 or 2 and those 1 or 2 hero, you know, aren't Darkseer, Queen of Pain, I could see CDEC turning that fight with a big vacuum Sonic Wave combo. So,
yeah,
you know, depending if the Darkseer has a mech or not.
Yeah, I mean, there's a combo with the Darkseer with the Queen of Pain's damage output. Just there's outside of the line, there isn't really like anything else you're setting up for, and except for just like that one soft burst. Whereas, I like about LG's draft that they've got like all these control. There's like a lot of stuns. Some of them AOE, some of them single targets. There's like potential for slow. They just produce a lot more irritations as that fight kind of progresses. So, I definitely favor LGD's draft quite a lot once the early fights start happening. But as you said, it depends on Xiaowei getting to his blink, and definitely depends on, you know, we'll set the dynamic once he gets the blink, the first couple of fights, how they go.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back on the mid lane here, Queen of Pain still leading quite a bit when it comes to farm, despite being off the lane for a while, which does not surprise you at all. It is going to be a Midas spill on the Invoker, but here comes the first smoke gang from CDEC.Youth. I think ideally they want a big core, but they're gonna get their smoke broken, and Inflame has to blink if they want to follow. It's not gonna be that, so a little bit unlucky here for LGD, who brought 2 of their cores for this gank, and looks like they're not gonna find anybody.
I really like MMY's build, by the way. He's gone Arcane Boots, which for me, I don't think Venge goes Arcane Boots just for Arcane Boots. It suggests that he's gonna party build into either lens.
Yeah.
And I think it's very good actually, item on Vengeful Spirits support.
I actually think that should be a preferred boots of choice. I've seen a lot of Tranquils, which I'm not a big fan of. Because the hero does definitely have mana issues, especially the fact in the new patch, 6.87c, got another intelligence nerf, so
yeah.
Even more.
The funny thing is, when you see Vengeance go Arcane Boots and disassemble for, there's gonna be they kept well coordinated.
That was sick. Cold Snap into swap. It ain't swap hex, but it's pretty close in this early game. And
so, what I want to say, when you see Vengeance go Arcane Boots and disassemble for either lens, usually they go back and buy another Arcane Boots afterwards. I think that's like the way the optimal way to build the hero.
Interesting. I would just go for 4 staff after that, but that is, I mean, essentially accomplished the same thing, right? It gives you a little bit more mana to work with. Whereas the Staff of Wizardry part that builds into a 4 staff is a little bit more.
Yeah, it's going to depend a bit on if the Arcane Boots are helping your team or not, right?
That's definitely
if you have any other Arcane Boots. And he actually starts to earn this game, which, I mean, we talk about the value of either lens or Arcane Boots, but earn is an item that's, personally for me, I just feel like we're still at a point where teams should try to always have 1 earn on their team. It's like super high value, especially if you're going to be having a fighting game.
Well, Xiaowei gonna get himself a Blink Tagger. It's finished now. So I imagine we're going to see another smoke coming out from LGD. And honestly, like, LGD could almost solo kill with just their starter setting up the game, because they always have the threat of the Sunstrike. If Xiaowei takes another friend, it's definitely a kill. Looks like we're going to see a pretty big party here as Aggressive joins it. And they do see... Well, actually, Victoria might just be dead to a Sunstrike. They have dropped the ward early. Sunstrike's going to come through. Bang! Victoria Get sniped. And the gank
Pretty
is still
nice
incoming.
kill.
Yep.
But I wanted to ask you, have you seen Quap by Veil before? I know Veil's been very popular recently, but particularly on Quap because it doesn't synergize with Sonic Wave at all.
I have not seen it. See, I theory crafted because of the build-up is so nice now. I almost wish that the Sonic Wave did magic damage so I could just combo it with Veil for that purposes. But now it looks like he doesn't even care about the fact that it doesn't work for Veil or for Sonic Wave. He's still gonna go for it. I mean, at the very least, it works with Finger, right?
Yeah, that still works with his Scream and his Shadow Strike, and the build-up is still good, like stat-wise. So I definitely don't think it's a bad buy. It's just kind of novel. It's one of the heroes we haven't seen buying it yet, and Inflame goes for it yet. But then Inflame was one of the. There was a time, I don't know if you're watching. There was a time like not big tournaments, smaller Chinese tournaments last year where a bunch of the Queen of Pain started buying Shadowblade, and he was also one of the players doing that then. So definitely willing to dabble in new builds in the hero.
Yeah. I mean, Queen of Pain is definitely one of the most versatile hero in the game when it comes to skill item builds. Like, probably the most versatile one. So, she could definitely try a lot of these. Looks like we're going to see that first big contention on the bottom lane. It's going to come in with Invis, Shadowblade already available. Goes right onto Aggressive. Can they actually burst him down? Cooldown's going to get dropped. The blink in from Xiao is just too good. Sonic Wave comes in. I'm getting frame drops, but it doesn't matter. Ame is doing work. Gets swapped to the left side. The egg comes in here. Ame jumps to the right. He's in a lot of trouble. He's regenerating some health. Looks like he's going to be fine for now. Move on the front line. The egg got popped. Yes, it did. By Inflame just coming on the right click. So it's a 2 for 2. That could thus themselves a gyrocopter. And Ame is looking to maybe do a little bit more work here. No detection for LGD, even though they do have Central War available for MMY.
Yeah, LGD were just not ready. That's what I want to say. Like they were, like some of them were ready. Shard reacted quite quickly, but I felt like they weren't ready for CDEC.Youth to bring the fight to them. They thought that like they'd get to start the fight, and I mean the Phoenix Sunray heal was really important for the Gyro, who still died. But if the Sunray wasn't there, the fight could have gone even worse. As it happens, I still think that's a fight win for CDEC.Youth because they only lose their 2 supports and they kill much more important heroes. Sure, they lose the tower, but
so
I think LGD should be doing better if they're prepared for that fight to start the way it does.
Well, they're definitely, the other thing they weren't prepared for is the quick Shadow Blade on Slark. I don't think they expected it. Maybe back to what you're saying, Ame is generally the player that gets a little bit more greedy when it comes to farm. And we are seeing the fact that Shadow Blade is paying off dividends over Hanamitis, for example. My big question is whether they saw the teleport in from Ame and the fact that he just went invis on the tier 2 and ran right in. I mean, they even dropped a very deep Observer Ward in preparation of that T1 push. So I'm... Like, you could say, you know, they're not prepared because they lost a fight, but I think they were as prepared as you could ask for. They even dropped such a deep ward. I mean, you can make the argument that MY could have dropped a Sentry as well, but they haven't seen that, you know, Shadow Blade before that point, so... I don't know.
If they were... I mean, yeah, so maybe they were prepared, but
the outcome wasn't
I guess my point is, like, their plan was pretty bad if they were prepared, right? Yeah. They obviously don't want their gyrocopters to be burst down so quickly at the start of a fight, and that's with the Phoenix healing him. So you'd think that their preparation involves either the Venge being in position to swap out the gyro, or the plan that the slot on the Phoenix is going to jump in as soon as you go on the gyro. And neither of those things happen that fluidly.
Again, another big burst combo here from LGD, making it work. And Xiao going straight into BKB. No Force Staff, no Armlet, none of that fluff. I'm surprised for the lack of Force Staff, but yeah.
Another buff to buying Veil is actually just the change in the recent patch that that intelligence gives you more spell damage. So like maybe that's, you know, even though the Veil doesn't buff your Sonic Wave, the stats from the Veil buff your Sonic Wave.
You mean over another item?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like a really big int build-up. I'm just thinking that because I see the Quapnaza robe, so going for the Orchid as well, and it's going to be like a huge int build-up where, to the point that I feel like with those 2 items, you have a high enough intelligence gain that it actually like makes a difference to your amplification based on the new stat amplification.
You know, I've never thought of this, but now you have another reason to trust swap on int when you're casting. Practically any spells.
You literally deal more damage.
Yeah,
yeah.
You actually do. Scan gonna find some hero on the jungle. I think the Dire wants to make a defense. You can see that Queen of Pain already in position to basically blink and ult. Whether they'll find anything is the question. Great Sentry Ward here being dropped kind of in the trees, but it's going to be coming from the left side. Oh, will they see him? Can he blink away? He does. Relocate's going to come through as well. And he's on the high ground, so they can't find anybody. Can they catch the Phoenix? No, he just dives and TP, so...
I think there's
trap being laid, but no cigar.
A small mistake by CDEC.Youth there, by XZ. He surges himself. I think if he surges the Lion, they're guaranteed at least 1 kill. I think he surged himself because I guess they read the situation that the fight's gonna inevitably break out, and then you want your Darkseid to be fast to like definitely get the good mech and vacuum off.
Yeah. I mean,
but the way it worked out, if he surges Lion, they will get a kill.
To me, it's like 50-50, right? If basically he's thinking that Lion's gonna find somebody, in which case, like you said, surging himself would guarantee the fight to be better. But you know, surging the Lion will get them somebody in the first place. So.
And it is going to be an Echo Saber for Slark, yeah. So that's something that was talked about when the patch came out. We have seen some Slarks doing it. But it definitely hasn't become like the default build on Slark, I would say. But it's come up here and there.
Yeah, I've seen this build more than any other build. So it might not be the default, but it's definitely like, you know, the flavor of the month for now here. Wow, Roshan dies so fast.
I've seen quite a lot of Slarks just going straight into Silver Edge, like rushing it.
Okay. You know, the scenario that we talked about with upgrading into the Silver Edge and then disassembling it back to Scotty, I think when we did the patch lock analysis, that was the point that you brought up, and I was thinking, no, it wouldn't really happen that much, but you know, it happened a couple of times, especially with Slark, because it's definitely the #1 Silver Edge holder at the moment. Aggressive with the Aegis, pushing down tier 2. I don't really think that CDEC is going to be able to hold this, and they won't. I like the scan, by the way. They scanned here as they're pushing the tier 2, expecting some next level backstab with the smoke, but...
Yeah, very creative use. Interesting. I also like it. Also not irrelevant that Phoenix has finally finished the Midas. I mean, remember, this is a 4-position Phoenix, and the way this hero works, you just like... Now that you have a Midas, and you hardly ever die, 10 minutes time he's gonna have another item. He's like, it might even be a Shiva's, you know, he could even have a big item at that stage. So it's something that adds up, definitely.
Yeah, I think Shiva's is generally the most common as a next item choice. Although I've definitely seen Veil and maybe even like a defensive item like a pipe for the team.
Yeah, so I said might because like, it's quite a lot to farm in 10 minutes if he does go for Shivas.
I don't know. Phoenix actually could cut down waves very, very easily. It's just whether he'll be able to find waves to cut down, because his cores are likely to have the farm priority. LGD feeling the fact that, you know, we still have our Aegis on our core. He's got SMY. He's got the helm. Gonna be really, really hard to replicate that bottom lane team fight. So they're gonna push.
Yeah, and I really, really like that MMY is going for mech in this game. I think it's like, it's really not a common build on Venge, but this is like, I think it's recognition that their team fights is much better than CDEC's where they lost that bot team fight. If they had a mech, there's no way they'd lose that fight. It's like, CDEC.Youth have a small window to win a fight, and you buy items like mech and you just close out that window. Like, make sure your team doesn't get burst down immediately and you look a lot stronger.
Vacuum back, Impale, that's gonna hit here. They're gonna burn Aggressive's Aegis quite easily, and Slaughter unfortunately unable. They're gonna try to maybe get a second initiation. Defensive swap's gonna come out. MMY gonna get Hex up. Here comes that combo. The Egg's gonna come in a fairly defensive position. That's gonna drive everybody back. They don't get any kills here, and they might lose themselves to Phoenix. Here comes a Surge Darkseer. He's coming in. Ame's going forward as well. Xiaowei thinking about jumping back in, but they don't have any of their ults. I'm not sure whether this is a good fight for them. He comes in, he finds Ame. It looks like the Sunstrike's gonna come in. I don't think they have hit anything. And I think it's CDEC's turn to actually on the back and relocate forward. And they popped one in exchange of the whiff. Sonic Wave only hitting maybe. I think with the Ice Wall being dropped down, they really can't chase anymore. Surge, no, they're going to keep on chasing. Xiaowei threatening the crush here. He will not be able to crush. No, he does get a crush on Ame. Ame dies to a Sunray. Vacuum backward here. What is going on? I'm dropping so many frame. Inflame goes in. He dies as well. Maybe he's not going to die. And Xiaowei gets off yet another crush. I mean, it's so hard to make the call whether... No first bash. So hard to make the call whether it's worth the chase. With so many of LGD's ability on cooldown, I thought CDEC was going to win the fight, but apparently not.
What's funny is, yeah, so LGD are retreating in a very sloppy fashion, and so CDC like smell blood and they chase them. But then CDC chased them in a pretty sloppy fashion too. Like they started with a relocate in with IO on its own, then Quap blinks in and like ultis one hero, and then Slark's going in next, and it's just like trading sloppiness. And I think that definitely favors LGD. What I was saying about Venge buying mech, for example, is that I think LGD, when they don't lose to like the coordinated burst of CDC.Youth, their team fights is just much stronger.
Yeah.
Like if they're getting multiple stomps off multiple amplified damages, multiple sun rays, multiple venge stuns, rocket barrages, all of these things. And I think a big pickup for them is going to be actually the gyrocopter's BKB, because suddenly that burst option is all but going to disappear. Then you need your line to catch him before he uses his BKB, otherwise you probably can't burst him down.
You know, I'm not even sure whether that was a sloppy retreat from LGD. It looked like, you know, Slaughter was hiding in the trees. I'm talking about here, where they even thought about...
So you think it was a bait?
Yeah, I thought it was like a bait, which is, again, fairly interesting way to bait it after you miss all your ultimates. It's like, let's fight again. But we see in that fight that the precision initiation of the Slaughter was supreme, right? Just be able to come back in so many times to set up kills was the reason why they wanted to fight. Ahmed thinking about coming in on the mid lane. He runs into the Phoenix. They were looking for the Hex. They will get off the Hex. Needs to get this quick kill. Where's that Sonic Wave? It does not come in. Meanwhile, on the left side here, X in a lot of trouble. He gets burned down by a Sunstrike. Ahmed on the right side jumps away, gets found again. He's going to get blink crushed by Slaughter. Dispels one. Crush is going to hit. Ahmed's going to die here. 3-0. Choosing a fight between the tier 1 and tier 2. It looked like a good initiation on the Phoenix, but they don't have the burst. I wonder why Lion didn't drop his finger immediately.
Yeah, Lion and Quap both of ulti, they got failed. They could potentially burst them down, they don't manage to, and again highlights the point about the previous fight. Like, you could say at the start of that previous fight at the high ground, Zhao didn't manage to jump in, and that's why they were losing to start. That's what I would say. But then we also say, like, when he jumps in later, he wins them the fight. Now, the point is, LGD have that luxury. Zhao can decide when he wants to go in, whereas CDC.Youth kind of have to all coordinate it all at once, get that successful initiation, or their fight just doesn't work. So that's something that really favors LGD in this game, that there's actually options for them on how to fight, whereas CDC.Youth, what we just saw in the mid lane, you initiate on someone, you don't burst them down, you have lost the fight. That's like, your fight's over.
Yeah. With that, the point is, though, when they initiate the fight, they should burst somebody down, right? You have Sonic Wave and Finger of Death. The fact that they don't burst somebody down, something has gone terribly wrong. Either, you know, half your team got crushed, or they haven't pressed those correct buttons, or they just missed their ult. So...
Well, the problem for them now is that Gyrocopter has a BKB. So even if they should burst someone down, it's not going to be him. Except when Lion catches him before he BKBs. And I think if they burst someone down who isn't the Gyro, the fight's still probably going to favor LGD.
I say if you could kill Invoker, Phoenix, or Gyro, I think you have a chance. But whether they can kill anybody is the question. The only silver lining for LGD, or sorry, for CDEC, is that Venge still hasn't gotten the mech. Like, I think once the mech is online, then your likelihood of bursting anybody down is even lower.
Yeah, with the Glimmer Cape on Phoenix, with the Sunray, the swap, the mech, it'll be just too many things. And this is, like, Ame is not having the game that he wants. You just bring up the net worth and it's easy to see. He wants to be right there at the top, and he's got a big gap actually behind the leaders in net worth on the enemy team. He, you know, with this build, the way that you keep up in farm is by fighting, getting kills. Like, you can't just be split pushing and farming, and that's what he's used to doing. So I think that they'll probably go back for more fights sometime soon. And it's going to be like, I almost think we're at the point in the game where if LGD convincingly take another fight, the game could be over already for CDC.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a stage where if LGD takes a convincing fight on the dire side of the map, Braxes are going to fall. They push so fast with the Exort Invoker as well as aggressive. In fact, they might just bring the fight to them right now on the high ground. Or maybe they'll wait for the next Roshan.
I just need to go open the gate for someone. I'll be back in a sec.
Alright, no problem. Split push coming out here from CDEC on the bottom tier 2. They're likely going to be able to get that because it doesn't seem like LGD is looking at defense. In fact, LGD looking at push high ground on the mid lane where the tier 3 is down. Alright, here we go. I mean, it's very safe to send the Gyrocopter up in the front with the BKB available. Put a Alacrity on him, like they're doing so. Vacuum misses, so that's a big window of no kind of initiation. Scantzor does see on Ame. Drops the magic weakness aura on aggressive as well as an orchid, but absolutely no follow. So I mean they repelled away for now, but that Rax is already down to 10% health. It looks like it's gonna go down to the Force Spirit and a couple more right clicks. Alright, Glyph is gonna come out, buys himself 5 more seconds. But CDC needs to really commit to a fight right now. Aggressive gets an extra hit, and looks like they do get to kill. Slaughter gets a jump here against the line. Line just immediately blows up, calls out, just zoning the hell out of everybody. Invoker coming on the left side, finds Amin, doesn't get the kill, but it doesn't matter. High ground is breached. They got a Rax. They are retreating very fast.
We spend so much time talking about what CDC.Youth can do if they get the jump, who they jump on, who they kill, how much it matters. We didn't talk much about what happens if LGD are the ones who get the jump, who initiate first, and I mean, it does seem like in the position that we're in the game, if that's happening, it's like there's really no chance for CDC in that fight. Where Zhao can just jump in before anyone else in the enemy team has done anything.
Yeah, the big difference between the jump now and the jump maybe 10 minutes ago is that if LGD commits on a single line stun, like if Slardar only stuns line and the whole whole LGD team commits, they probably lose that fight 10 minutes ago because it's just not enough to stun the line and kill him. Now, with the huge kind of lead, it doesn't matter who they jump. As long as they get anybody, they just win. Oh, here comes
This
Ame.
smoke is like a last-ditch attempt.
Yeah, and well, he's okay for now. Meanwhile, it looks like we do see that Sonic Wave hits pretty nicely, but that Mech comes through, and it's just not going to be enough. On the left side, Inflame blinks back out. On the right, everybody's lagging, but it seems like it's going to be Dire Heroes hitting deck. Sunshine not hitting, and it's retreat time coming out. Lion's gonna get, okay, he's gonna be dead as well. Looks like Venge is gonna clean that up with the aura. It's, that was a hell of a YOLO fight. Across the map, with the Slark leading the way, but...
This is like almost an argument for why they're usually drafting Ame into the big farming position, and that's what he's doing. Because when you pick a strategy that has to fight to get advantage, it's very difficult once you get behind. Like, a lot of teams like to have an option where they can make pickoffs, where they can split push, those kinds of things. But yeah, this is the way for CDC.Youth to gain advantage in this game is by fighting. But they got to a point where they're at a disadvantage in a fight, and it's just like stuck between a rock and a hard place. How do you get back into the game?
Yeah, it's definitely, you could argue, a harder to execute strategy, especially a one that perhaps a carry player hasn't been asked used to play. But I don't think this game was decided whether Ame went for the farming strat versus the fighting strat. They just got outplayed and perhaps even outdrafted.
Yeah, I mean, the point I was making is about the draft in general. It's not just about how they played the slot. It's about they go into a position where once you look at the draft, once you look at the lane stage, they could see, well, we need to fight, but they don't have like a clear advantage in the fights. I mean, there was like a small window where maybe they could get the initiations and burst people down. We saw at the bot tower, but once that window closed, the draft is no longer versatile in the way that, if you have an Ember Spirit or something like that, you can go, okay, plan B, split push, get pickoffs. But
right.
That plan doesn't exist anymore in this game.
The other big problem with this Slark lineup, and I've seen a lot of captains make this mistake with Slark, is that it doesn't matter how big your Slark is. Unless you're up by, like, I don't know, 20k net worth, it's really hard to actually breach high ground. I mean, right now we're talking about high ground, but CDC hasn't even pushed the mid-tier 1. Which brings me to my point, like, let's say in a world in this game where Slark gets a couple kills, he's leading his team, they're winning fights, they're still not going to be able to get sizable advantage by taking down towers and further the map control. So, I mean, CDC, not only are they not winning fights, they're unable to push. There's absolutely no plan B with this draft, at least in this stage of the game. So I think more or less they're waiting for the doom to come.
Yeah, I mean, from this point on, it's kind of like they know that the ball is in LGD's court, and you keep playing, and you hope that they make mistakes, and you can capitalize on them, and that's kind of that. There's only so much you can proactively do. Queen of Pain's doing some split pushing, Slark's doing some split pushing, but they're not going to win the game economically. They have to get some advantage from a fight, and to do that, it requires LGD to make mistakes. So you do your best, and you hope that that's enough if the enemy team does, fumble something.
Well, actually, they just pick up 2 big items here. BKB, Queen of Pain even buys a Tome, hits level 16. Lion has a Blink Dagger. In fact, they're going to go on maybe. No, just a little bit harass. Jumps back out. The tower's got a ton of HP. They have Glyph up in a couple of seconds. Lion reveals Blink, gets jumped here by Xiao A. They're going to jump right on Demons. Demons going to likely get blown up. Aggressive in the middle of everything. Sunray giving a little extra heal. It looks like Ame's on the left side. He's going to have to use his ultimate. Big Sonic Wave here from Inflame, but just not enough damage. In fact, the amp plus the right clicks is going to kill him. Meanwhile, it looks like Invoker jumps back in. Sunstrike not going to connect, but I think it's already enough that they survived the combo from CDEC and got a Queen of Pain kill. Yeah, the sustain from September. They got the mech ready on the Vengeful Spirit. I think it's GG.
And it looks like Zhao Eight is like, I wasn't sure before, but it looks like he specifically decided that the hero he's happy to jump on if it's solo is Lion.
Yep.
And I think that makes perfect sense, because if the Lion's dealt with, your Jara is never dying, your Invoker's never dying. Those like...
Oh, Vacuum coming back in. Looks like XZ's gonna get crushed, and so does again the Lion. They're gonna focus on the XZ first, while the Lion just dies to the residual AoE damage.
But you see again, like, Zhao Eight doesn't jump in so he can catch the Lion. He just...
Yeah.
And I think that's just so smart. Recognizing that that's the one hero that could screw things up for them.
Well, looks like GG is called as the Lagfest finish, but from the frames that we did see, LGD looking real dominant.
Yeah, LGD, you know, doing the best they can to justify the direct invite they got to the major. I think this is actually the first game. Is this the first game that they've played?
No.
Or
well,
second
they
game?
won the
previous match.
The previous match before that, and it looked really, really good. Granted, they play against VG Gaming, which are not exactly at their best, but
yeah, they're pretty weak right now. But so this is their, I want to say this is their first like difficult opponent since they got invited to the major. But they looked pretty dominant here too. Actually, I caught some of the Vici match, and I almost feel like Vici gave them a harder time than CDC.Youth did here.
Yeah, actually, LGD is my pick for exiting this group as the winner, and they're looking pretty good.
All right.
So it's easy to say that after a victory. Let's see if CDEC could bring a little bit more fight in game 2. We don't want too quick, kind of 2-all stomps. By the way, the winner of this series will be playing the winner of our last series, which was I'm having a brain fart. IG, correct. Beating.
And then the winner of that joins, I think, Wings and Vici, Reborn, and Newbie in like the second stage of the tournament.
That is correct. But we'll talk more about that in a bit. We're going to a short break. This game is going to get hosted real fast, so don't expect more than 5 minutes of break time. We'll be back with the game on Beyond the Summit soon.